Welcome to E39 Source. Today we are upgrading the headlights on Luke's 2000 BMW M5 in Avis Blue. This will be the first video on the channel with this car. As I said, it's a 2000 M5, production 12 of 99, correct? And that would mean that it comes with these pre-facelift headlights. A lot of people sand these down, buff them, clean them up, make them look really nice. Some people replace the lenses, they put depots in, or if you're really going to do it right, you do something like that and something like this. These are European spec Hella facelift headlights, brand new from umnitsa.com. Slow shipping, great product. And we do have the other one too. I'm not totally sure where it is, but this is going to be a DIY not only for replacing the headlights, but modifying the wiring of a 2000 car to support these facelift headlights. We need to do a little bit of splicing, a little bit of work using some terminal connectors, some 16 gauge wire, so get some 16 gauge terminal connectors. Tools we're going to need, this will change throughout the night here, but we need an 8mm socket and then approximately 8 inches of extensions to get the lower bolts out of the headlights. There's 4 bolts down here. Being an M5, of course it has xenons. Note that your car may or may not have xenons if you're doing this. Here's how you check. Look back here, find your low beam bulb. If it's black and red and has a wire as thick as your small finger, that's a xenon. You'll also see this big gray box right here, that's known as a ballast. It's a xenon controller. You can add xenons, I believe, to a car by simply purchasing the xenon controller and plugging in that gray wire right there, and then running that over to your low beam xenon. Canons turn those on. You can clearly xenons, see how bad, and you can really see the poor condition. Maybe.
Well,
these lenses.
film the top, you can kind of see the top has the...
Yeah, they need to be replaced. So we'll get started. Our first step is going to be removing the lights, and why don't we go ahead and start over here on the passenger side. So we can start off with some wiring. There's going to be a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 connectors that go into your lights. Starting off, let's just be super easy and remove the auto leveling wire. It's the one right on top. It's got 4 smaller wires going into it. You need to depress the top and wiggle it off the back. 2 yellows, 2 blues, that levels your headlights if your adjusters work. Another reason we're replacing these lights, the adjusters are broken. The bright bulb, I always have trouble getting that out. Sometimes they just turn,
try the other way.
Twist clockwise, sometimes counterclockwise. Really, I just tend to do that when I take the light out, but it looks like this time I was able to get that out. When going to facelift lights, regardless of European or United States specification, really the difference is the clear lens. Unfortunately, that's a pre-facelift light. But the lens over here, as we can see, is just clear silver. There's no little orange LED in there. In the United States, those lenses are orange and they have an LED in there, and they're quite unattractive in my opinion. So the thing that's going to change between the facelift and pre and post facelift is only going to be the turn signal wire. The xenon is going to bolt right in and plug right in. So will the level sensor. So will the bright bulb. And what else am I missing? Everything bolts in aside from the turn signal and the halo. There's no halo obviously on the old one, and there is on the new. So we're going to be talking about how to make your halos work independently from the turn signals, because right now, Kenan, if you could turn on the headlight switch to position 1, please. We see that on an M5 or on a facelifted car, I have one right here, we can see halo lights. Come on. So we'll flip that switch real quick and we'll have halos. The switch in the same position on a pre-facelift car has these ugly orange parking lights. So we need to turn that into a halo.
Looks like a Pontiac Firebird.
Pontiac Firebird. Kenan, turn on the hazards, please. We'll see by turning the hazards on that the parking light switch in a facelift car controls halos, doubles as the turn signal bulb. It's a 2-filament bulb, so we need to split that voltage from each filament. We'll have one filament that will continue to function as your turn signal. Look at my hazard switch in my M5, please. And the other function of that will run the halos. A little bit of wiring, a little bit of splicing, it's not a big deal. We'll be detailing all of that. So at the end of your job, it'll look like this. So you'll have the halos, and your turn signals, of course, will still work. There's 4 bolts that hold the headlight in addition to the wires. They're 8mm. One on top here, one on top here, And the other two, if we can get the light down there, you'll see one close to the bright bulb socket and the other one straight down there. So you will need some lengthy extensions to get down there and remove those. Get as many wires as you can disconnected from the back. Remove those 4 bolts, put them in a dry safe location. And we're now going to just pull the light straight out. You can feel it's getting tight on something, which appears to be the turn signal bulb.
Yeah.
Which is the hardest one to get to over here. I guess with the light at an angle like this, it's better than all the way installed. So what I'm going to do is hold it at as much of an angle as I can. If we can film back there, we'll see that the bulb socket is pretty different than the one on the new light. This is kind of a pinch idea. We need to take the sides of it, pinch it together, and pull it out the back. With your old headlight out of the car, face down like this on a towel or something so you don't destroy it further, we need to do a little bit of surgery on the old one. First thing we need to remove is the ballast, which has this wire that then goes into the low beam projector. So you'll see that there's kind of a cradle around the ballast to keep it on there, utilizing a Torx bit, which happens to be a T20. So we'll just insert a T20 in there, counterclockwise, open this up, sandwich that off like that, don't lose your screw, and here's the ballast. So now we can work on pulling the wire out from around the connector. And when you get it to this point, it's going to turn and pull out just like that. And then your D2S or DS2 xenon bulb plugs in right there. This light actually appears to have some axial retaining clips on there, which I'm unfortunately going to have to snap off because we don't use this light anymore. So do the same or take them off more carefully, although these things are pretty much impossible to reuse. I'd rather damage these than the wire. And I do have more should we choose to use them on the new part. But that's going to give us access to the entire xenon controller like that. The next thing we're going to do is remove the body colored trim off the bottom of the headlight. This needs to be transplanted onto our new light. So on the left side, or on the side that has the turn signal, we can start prying away at that very carefully. We'll go over here, and then all the way on the opposite side of the turn signal, there's a clip that has to be depressed before it will snap out like this.
That one's still.
Notice a couple other little clips. Really, you just need a few hands and a little bit of patience. You'll be able to pry this thing off.
Then push here, wait.
Without damaging anything. Yeah. And there we go. And that's ready to be moved over to the
That's staying, right?
The gasket goes inside the trim. This is the bottom of the new light, which is going to be the same passenger side that we've been working on. And depending on what light you're working with, this is the Omnitsa Hella European spec. It comes with a new bracket that I am going to go ahead and install on the M5. So if we look over here, shift our light and attention over here, this is the old bracket. It's held on with, I believe, just 2 more 8mm bolts. So we'll remove those. We'll remove this bracket from the light, which, if you'll see back here, are the same lower bolts that we had to use the ridiculous looking extension for, if you see my tool here. So I'm not even going to take the links out. I'm just going to remove these 2 bolts, again, the 8mm, and we'll transplant the adapter onto the car, or the bracket onto the car. After you do a little bit of cleaning, we're ready to install the lower headlight trim onto the new headlight, making sure that the gasket's on there. You'll see the places where it's going to line up on the light. It's pretty self-explanatory. And really it's more helpful to start on the side opposite the signal lens, I think, and snap that into place. And then we'll move on, click, click. And the last one over here is kind of held on by the bumper. It's got a notch in it that'll keep it on there. Putting the ballast on, it's another T20, same idea. These parts are made of a seemingly higher quality material. So we'll take the T20 out, slide the door open, and figure out how we're gonna orient the ballast in here. I'll figure that out. Yeah. I'll let you know. Here's the installation of the old ballast onto the new light. It goes in so the bottom of the light is now on the ground. So you'll see the xenon wire comes out, loops under your halo bulb next to the connector for the adjustment. Then it comes in, and you can figure out how you want it here. You can put it anywhere you want. I just send the wire out the bottom. Put the bracket on here, tighten down your T20. Actually, I noticed that the new screw that came on these lights wasn't long enough. So I just used the old ones. But If your new one is long enough, you might as well use the new one. We just use the old black one, it fit fine. So at this point, we get to do the fun part of wiring that new signal bulb, splitting that in a couple different ways, and there's a lot of ways you guys can do this. You can cut it and splice it with terminal connectors, you can solder it, you can go and buy, I forget what they call those different connectors that you can put in there that turn into proprietary looking connectors, but they're not.
Wiring harness or something?
It's a bit of a wiring harness. But right in here, if we can come a little closer, this is the old signal bulb. And of course, it's like on a 4-inch chain here. So we're gonna have one hell of a time of cutting that connector off. See, let me explain this a little bit better. So there's 3 wires. The brown one is gonna be your ground wire. We're gonna need to split that to A, the halo, and B, the turn signal. The blue is positive for either the halo or the turn signal, we'll let you know. And then the gray is positive for either the turn signal or the halo. Again, we'll let you know. So the brown ground needs to go to both, and then we split the positive 1 to 1 and 2 to 2, and we'll figure out which is which. But to start off with, I'm gonna need some wire cutters, and this may make many of you sick, and in fact, it's hard for me to do because I'm an OEM guy. We're gonna cut that connector that's been on here for 14 years off the car. It's gonna be a little faster without it. This thing's kinda heavy. So here come the wire cutters. And there it is. Hard to do, but it's gone. So now we get to splice these, do it how you want, splice and solder, I don't care. But I believe this is probably 16 gauge wire, it could be 18. Let's get about a 1/4 to 1/2 inch of copper exposed. So we cut the connector off that wire. At this point we had the 3. There was a blue-white, a blue-brown, and then a 100% brown. 100% brown is your ground wire. Split that 2 ways. So you have 2 of those. I don't know if these are it, but you'll have 2 wires. Now, like I said before, we're using 16 gauge wire. You could go the next size smaller and it would probably match better. I'm a little bit more comfortable working with this bigger wire. So anyway, split your ground so you have 2 of them. The white-blue wire, it's multicolored. The white-blue wire is going to be the positive wire for your halo bulb, which at this point you can take out of your new headlight if you are using a new headlight, and it looks like this. So make your white-blue and one of your browns are going to connect to this. At this point, it would be really helpful if you had a wiring harness so you could use the BMW connector, or you can kind of do it how I'm going to do it, which isn't great, but it will work. And we're going to use terminal connectors to sandwich over the pins inside of that and then cover the entire thing in electrical tape. I know some of you guys are cringing right now. This will work for years though. Everything's going to be really tight and water sealed, and if it breaks, it's a 10-minute job to redo it. The other wire is going to be one of the splits of your brown, and the other one is the blue-brown wire. It's multicolored blue-brown. That will be for your turn signal. We'll be doing the same thing. Here's the turn signal out of the new light. There's the pins in there. We'll put terminal connectors on there, smash them over those pins, and then electrical tape the entire thing so it's watertight. Then we'll be ready to install the light. So we're in about 20 minutes. We found another part that you guys are going to need to buy. These are, they don't need to be heat shrink, but these are splice connectors from 3M, 16 to 14 gauge. We ended up using those to put over the pins on the inside of the turn signal bulb as well as the halo bulb, and then connect those wires, splitting the ground, the blue-white to the halo, and the blue-brown to the signal. So Canon, if we turn our halos on, oh, wow, that's bright. There is the halo bulb lighting up. Turn on the right turn signal, or the hazards. And there's the hazard bulb. Notice the halo bulb stays lit at the same consistency. So that's how that whole side is going to be wired. Beautiful. At this point, we can install the bulbs into the light and install the light into the car. The light is going to match up on this bracket that we installed a little bit ago. Notice there's 3 extrusions that are going to slide into the light. Then we can replace our 2 8mm bolts at the bottom, 2 8mm bolts at the top. But before you do that and before you slide it all the way in, I do recommend that you plug everything in, just because these wiring harnesses are pretty tight. So we've got one done. The left one's all set, all taken care of. Came out really well. Follow those steps and you'll get a great product. Lining the light up, you'll have a couple issues with the light lineup probably. You may have to pull the light in and out a couple of times and adjust it with the bracket in there. Move the bracket up, move the bracket down. Watch out for this AC line here, whatever that is. You may have to bend it. I mean, I'm talking a 50th of an inch, 100th of an inch, just so it doesn't touch the bulb there for the halos. But everything else went in as expected. Reinstall your 4 8mm bolts, get fitment how you like it, and you'll be good to go. We're going to do the same thing on the other side now, but we're seeing a monumental difference now, so we'll film, we'll check in at the end. One thing to note, in fact it's after the fact, so I'm showing you on Kenan's 2001 525i as he changes oil. On the driver's side, the wire colors are going to be slightly different. The turn signal wire, instead of being whatever I said a few clips ago, is going to be blue/green. So blue/green as the positive wire for the signal bulb. The halo is green/gray. If for any reason that's inaccurate, simply switch the positive wires, keep the ground, because you know, worst comes to worst, you turn your hazards on and you've got your halos flashing, and you turn your blinker on or you turn your halos on, and this bulb over here comes on. So then you can switch the positives, keep the grounds, it doesn't matter which is which, and you'll be good to go. We're probably talking about a 3-hour job here, doing all of the wiring. I've done this one other time. I didn't film it then because I did want to be very familiar with the process before I did it. But it's done, and it looks incredible. This is a 2000 Avis Blue M5 now with perfect European facelift headlights. He does not have the LED halos right now, but all of the wiring went really well. There are no check displays or warnings, errors on the check display. Hazards work, high beams, low beams, everything works. Kill the lights, guys. We'll get a look at that in the car, I mean. Yeah, perfect. The fitment, if you want to open the hood, I'll show you how to get the fitment as close to perfect as possible. And open that up, Luke. You'll notice in here there are the 4 bolts. So you just want to run your fingers along here, get that gap nice and tight. You have further adjustment when the hood is shut. You can feel where the headlight meets the hood. Get that gap to be about the same on each side just by loosening these screws, loosening these 8mm bolts, moving the headlight around, and then bolting it back up. So everything is very weather insulated, weatherproof, waterproof. I don't anticipate any issues with this. Luke, I give you a 30-hour warranty on this. It'll be beautiful, and it looks great. Thanks for watching. Leave some comments down below. Talk to you in the next one. Bye-bye.